This is your first feature film, right?
It is.
Pretty ambitious project for your first.
Yes, I like making life difficult for myself.
How did the project come to you, and what was it about that appealed to you?
I've been friends with Nick Stoller for a while, so I was aware that he was working on this. And I remember reading about it in the trades, hearing about this Muppet movie idea, and I thought at the time, oh, that's a good idea, because the Muppets haven't done stuff for a while. And I remember them very clearly from my childhood in England. I used to watch the Muppet Show every week for 5 years. And in England, it's very much seen as an English show, because it was made in London. And so if you ask someone in England where the Muppets from, they'll say, oh, they're English. But
really?
Of course, over here, it's completely opposite, where it's American. And to be fair, it's kind of a weird Anglo-American hybrid, where the performers are all American. There's kind of weird Englishness to it in terms of the setting, and I guess the tone, the comedy tone for me, is far more, reminds me far more of English TV shows like Python or like The Goodies than it does of American TV at the time. So it's a weird thing whereby in England it has a weird English ownership sense to it. So it kind of felt to me like a thing that I always wanted to do, that sort of thing, a show with Muppet humour in it, and that sort of humour was becoming my humour anyway, because the show I did before Muppets was Fight the Conchords.
Yeah.
And of course Conchords isn't that different to Muppets in many ways, in terms of its tone, in terms of it being about these innocent guys who share a crazy worldview that holds it all together, and they also sing songs. And of course, that's a huge part of Muppets, is that the Muppet Show is always very song-heavy. And Conchords is a show that has a comedy narrative with songs inserted in it. So it felt to me like the Muppets was a very natural progression from Conchords, but just the added hard difficulty of puppets, which, again, as I said, I like a challenge. So, and I was delighted to have a go at doing this, and I'm really very pleased with what we came up with.
Speaking of challenges, how did you convince Chris Cooper to rap?
Chris Cooper was desperate to rap.
Really?
He was just waiting for someone to ask him to rap. But he was obviously my choice for Tex. I mean, Tex had to be a believable threat, an actual villain, a proper villain that you would scare the Muppets and people at home. And Chris is no more menacing than Chris. And so I thought, well, the perfect thing for him, this guy, to do is to break out into song. And if he's going to do a song, you might as well do a rap, because if you know a song about being rich, that's a very common theme of rap music these days. So I thought, well, you could do a Tex Richard rap song. Yeah. And he did it, and he nailed it. He's amazing. And so, he just I said to him, look, there's going to be a scene whereby you're talking to the Muppets, but you're kind of telling them why you're so great and why they're so bad. And he just went with it, and also not only raps but dances. A lot of those dance moves, he's doing that dance. He really is, and he's such a professional, performer that he spent days rehearsing it and just nailed it.
Did you run into any sort of difficulty with the Muppet orthodoxy? Because there are a lot. I mean, this has a large fan base. A lot of people who've worked on the previous shows.
Sure. No, certainly initially when Jason and Nick were writing it, I think they had an issue because they had a thing whereby the puppets referred to themselves as puppets. And that's straight away, that's a problem, I think, because then you start talking about seams and about building, where in their world they are real, like Kermit is a frog and Piggy's a pig and Ralph's a dog. But they're real things, so they consider themselves to be real, so that's really important. So I think those things were ironed out fairly early on, and if you see the movie now, it kind of feels like for me, it feels like a continuity from the earlier movies, whereby it feels like of the same world, whereby it's true to the characters, and you feel that those characters are the guys you recognise from before.
How can we get Flight of the Conchords back together, either on the screen or back on...
You need to put me and Brett and Jermaine in a room and lock the door for a while. Yeah. It's hard because we're so busy. But to be fair, when we finished the show, it was something we'd been doing for 3 or 4 years, and that amount of songwriting, we did a lot of the jobs in that show. I mean, I directed them all, most of them, and wrote most of them as they did all the songs and wrote most of the scripts, and so it was the three of us doing a lot of work, and it would have been hard to have kept doing it at that rate because it was killing us, basically. Yeah. So we kind of said to ourselves, we'll just call it off now. And I also remember in England, where I'm from, the number of shows you do in a series is 6. So doing whatever it was, 22 episodes, felt like doing 4 seasons for me. That's quite a long time.
You guys are lazy now.
All right, yeah, we're lazy. But it was like we're doing a lot of work, and I think we loved doing it, but we felt like it's better to go out on a high where everyone liking us rather than hand it over to someone else and have it be diluted.
Okay.
And so, but look, we're still really good friends, and I talk to them all the time. As you know, Brett worked on Muppets with me, and I'm sure Jermaine and I'll do something together. But at some point, we'll get together again in a room and work on something, because I loved working with them so much, and it was such fun. And they are, as you imagine, the nicest people you'll ever work with. So for me, it's a personal goal to get them back together at some point and make something.
It's funny because it's my personal goal too.
Well, we should work together on that.
All right. Sounds good.